Hey everyone, welcome back to Dollars and Nonsense. I've got Michael here today with me. And for those of you who missed last week when we uploaded the post about me stepping down as president and Michael stepping into the role as God has called me to ministry, if that's news to you, you might want to go watch that episode as well. But in this episode, we're actually going to pick up on where I left off 2 episodes ago, where we talked about the 6 principles of infinite banking. And in that episode, I said we were going to come back with a part 2, and we were going to talk about how to turn the infinite banking concept into a platform to build your life. And so once again, if you didn't catch that first episode, that would have been back in July, July timeframe. At the end of July, I would say watch that one too, just to kind of get caught up. But what we're going to talk about is actually how to make infinite banking a platform. It was never meant to be an investment or like a savings strategy. It was meant
Yeah.
to be a platform that you can build your life on. And so that's what Michael and I are going to riff on today. Is just the idea of, okay, how can we turn infinite banking into the foundational piece for your life? That's what it intends to be. And by the way, Michael, before we just dive into it, the whole background to that concept was when I was discussing in that last episode that Dave Ramsey, his advice may not even be the best advice. However, at least what he does is he presents a platform that people can build their life on, and
Right.
it simplifies things.
Yeah.
And then the same thing was like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's not like he's even giving technical strategic investment advice. He's developing a platform, a
Yeah.
way of thinking and a perspective on how to build your life. And they stand in almost like polar opposites to each other. There are two platforms, and
Yeah.
I believe you can
Yeah.
find success in either one.
Yeah.
You can find success in either one.
You couldn't do both.
Yeah,
You'd
you
have to
nailed
pick,
it.
you have to pick one.
You have to pick one, and you can actually find success in either one. The issue is when you try to blend the two,
Exactly.
that's when it gets weird, and you're the one who's clueless. And I remember even Ray
Yeah.
would talk about this, like, you know, when you try to blend infinite banking into other platforms and you don't actually commit to infinite banking, it's like being a Christian and going to the Methodist church and then go to the Baptist church and then go to the Charismatic church and then go to the Episcopal church. And you've
Yeah.
gone to every church and you end up being more confused than you started. But then
Yeah.
you ask the pastors of all those other churches and they're not confused. Like they're
Right. No.
confident in what they believe in. You're the one who's confused. That's because you're trying to blend all of these things that don't really blend well together into one. And that
Mhm.
is, I think, the crux of the issue for most people who try to practice into banking, is they don't actually make it what it is. It'd be like going into Dave Ramsey and just saying, I actually am a big fan of credit card debt or something. It's like, you're not doing the thing he teaches then. So
Yeah. I saw an amazing clip from a Dave Ramsey show not long ago where he was on a podcast with two young guys, and the two young guys are like, "Okay, what if you could borrow $100 million at 0% interest for 10 years? Would you do it?" And he was like, "Nope." He's like, he sticks to his principles. He
it makes life
hates
simpler.
debt.
Yeah,
And
it
you
makes life
gotta
simpler.
give him credit for that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I
We would say it's foolish.
right.
Take the money and go
Exactly.
do something with it. But he's saying no. And yeah, you're right. It makes life simpler. And that's what we're trying to say is people try to poke holes in infinite banking. People try to poke holes in Dave Ramsey,
Yeah,
try
yeah,
to poke holes in Robert. And you can poke holes all you want. But
exactly.
nonetheless, your life will be more productive and more prosperous when you build it with an ideological platform. And infinite banking is one that if you choose
Mhm.
to build your life on, it will work.
Yeah,
Just
and
like Dave Ramsey's will work, just like Robert Key. This one, and honestly, this one will probably work better than the other ones if you actually commit to it.
yes. Yeah. Well, that's why we do, that's why we're in this business. That's why we do this, is because we, like, if we didn't believe it was the best one, we would be doing another one.
Yeah.
But the reason we're doing this one is this is the one we chose. This is the one that we love the most. And it is a platform, and like the other platforms, like Robert Kiyosaki, like Dave Ramsey, this platform requires commitment. You
Yeah.
got to be
It
committed to
does.
the principles of it. And if you don't totally commit to the principles of it, that's when you run into problems.
Well, you nailed it. That's exactly what I was trying to get up in this episode, which is perfect. Which is if you disagree with Dave Ramsey's principles and then try to go do his system, you will fail because you
Yeah.
don't even agree.
Yeah.
If you disagree with Robert Kiyosaki's principles and yet you try to go do it, you will fail. The same thing should be true of infinite banking. So that's why I
It
did the
is.
six
Yeah.
principles of IBC episode as part one of this one was be like, hey, if you disagree with these principles, then don't do this.
Amen. That's
Don't
right.
do it. But
Yeah.
if you
Well,
do agree with the
we
principles,
don't want you to fail.
no, we don't want you to fail. You will fail if you disagree with the principles. If you
Right.
agree with them, then this is a great financial platform for you to
Awesome.
be
Yeah.
in. And it
Yep.
actually, that's it. Like almost no more needs to be said. But I guess we could say, okay,
Right.
well, if you agree with the platform, if you agree with the principles, and you're going to do it, then how do you actually turn it into the platform?
Yeah.
That
So go into that then, Nate. How do you make IBC your platform? That's what we're going to talk about, right?
Yeah, a platform, like especially these financial platforms, these ideological or philosophical platforms, which IBC is one of, it's essentially a way to filter all of your decisions. That's why we call it a paradigm shift. If if you're going to follow Dave Ramsey's paradigm and his platform, then he essentially presents to you a way to filter all of your decisions. And it makes
Mm.
life simpler. And there's no more inaction. You can take action, productive action. Same thing goes with Robert Kiyosaki's
Wow.
platform.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
filter for your perspective. Infinite banking at its core, you have to let it become the filter to your decisions.
Hmm.
That's the only real way. So you have to actually get to the point to make it a real platform is you have to have your decisions fall in line with the principles of infinite banking, which is essentially you finance everything that you buy is the big one. So when you understand that and
Yeah.
believe in it,
That's the
then you
key.
then you're like, okay, I want to repay myself.
Yes.
Then you go into this and you're excited to borrow money and repay it. We have other people who don't believe that, or at least they don't want that to be reality, though it is. So they end up becoming bitter about policy loans and loan repayments. Like they borrow money
Yep.
and they don't want to repay the policy. They
Yep.
find it as bondage, whereas another person might see it as freedom.
As freedom. Yeah.
And that's what's interesting. Well, how do you know which one you're
Well,
going to be?
well,
Well, it's
that's
because
yeah.
one has a paradigm shift and one does not.
Yep. Well, like the bondage and freedom thing, like I've noticed very consistently, like the people who don't pay their policy loans view it as bondage, and the people who do pay their policy loans view it as freedom. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of the way that
Yeah.
it goes. Like, whoa, I made all the payments and now I have all the money plus the interest, and it was all
Yeah.
growing the whole time. So it's,
Right. And the
that's
same thing
kind of
goes
the
with premiums. Like the person who has committed to making IBC their platform gets excited to pay premiums. The person who
yes.
has not made IBC their platform, they still are living in another paradigm, whether that's identified or not, what it is. It's just
Mm-hmm.
undefined most of the time.
Unidentified.
They're the ones that look at policy premiums and they start to grow bitterness towards them. They
Mm-hmm.
don't like they feel like the policies are always taking money away from them, and that's because their paradigm hasn't shifted. You can have the exact same person doing the exact same things,
Mm-hmm.
and one is excited to do it and one is bitter about it. And what's the difference between the two? One has
Yeah.
not shifted their paradigm, they've not built a platform. So that's the idea, even with the 4 stages of IBC video that I did, Michael, was the idea that
Yeah.
if you don't like the paradigm, then just do stage one and don't ever look over the fence and see what other people are doing. All
Exactly.
this cool infinite banking stuff, all this putting a large amount of money in, pulling it out,
Mm-hmm.
financing things, all this stuff that sounds super exciting. It is exciting,
Mm-hmm.
but it's what I call the fear of premium. It's the dividing line. It's
Yep.
they have committed to IBC as their platform.
Yes.
So things that make sense for them to do might not make sense for you to do because you have added a policy into an existing platform that you may have undefined, what actually goes on. But normally it's essentially like a bank account built, driven platform. Essentially,
Yep.
like anything
Yep.
that takes money out of my bank account, bad. Things that put money into my bank account, good. And
Yeah.
the paradigm is just simple little switch that says
Yeah.
anything that puts money in my policy, good.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
the switch.
Yep.
So
I was just thinking yesterday, very strongly thinking back to when I first found out about infinite banking,
yeah.
and a mentor of mine gave me the book to read. And the first two times I read the book, I didn't get it at all. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And that's because I was trying to make it fit a different paradigm, like a different way of thinking. I was trying, how do I fit this in as one piece of what I'm already doing? etc. But for whatever reason, and then I put the book away, and then like maybe 6 months or 8 months later, a year later, I read the book for the third time, and that time, for whatever reason, the light bulb came on, and I said, "Oh, this isn't just some loophole or some crazy. This isn't something like some business that some guy invented in the 80s or um some 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 idea that came out of left field in the 1980s with Nelson. Like these are eternal principles that can never change about
Yeah.
money. Well, eternal might be a bit of it very strong, but
Yeah.
like they're principles of money that God put into the world that cannot change. And if you learn those principles and that strategy, I saw it, man. I can build my life on this platform as a strategy for money for everything that I do. And when I saw that, then I was committed. Then I was ready to go.
And it makes life simpler when you have a system. That's what we're trying to bring up.
Yes.
That at the
Yes.
end of the day, I believe you can have success doing Dave Ramsey's system. You can have success doing Robert Kiyosaki's system. You can have success doing the infinite banking system. The benefits of each one is not just each individual part of it separated. It's the whole thing and then
Mm-hmm.
what you can do with it. It actually makes life much simpler. The biggest issue for most people is they have no way to filter opportunity. They have no way to filter things
Yeah.
financially at
Yeah.
all. And so they get caught up doing things with money that they really shouldn't be doing. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm such a believer in the people who are very interested in infinite banking for the life insurance policy benefits and the values that they bring are the ones that are still in another paradigm who just think life insurance would do well in their existing paradigm.
Yeah.
This is probably the majority of people doing infinite banking in general.
Yeah.
People that take IBC to the fullest are the ones that say, this is the truth about how I want to build my life under this
Yep.
umbrella.
Yep.
And what we've talked about a little bit, Michael, is that what's interesting is that infinite banking is so fundamental that it can technically enhance other people's platforms. That's what makes it interesting. That like you could technically follow all of Dave Ramsey's advice, maybe minus the fact that he doesn't like whole life insurance, but
Yeah.
you could follow
Yeah.
all of Dave Ramsey's essential advice and bring infinite banking into it, and you could probably it blends it plays well with each other. That's the idea. Infinite banking plays
Mm-hmm.
well with Dave Ramsey's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
philosophy. Infinite banking plays well with Robert Kiyosaki's philosophy.
Yeah. I would say
Infinite
it
banking
plays.
plays well with everyone's
Yeah.
philosophy.
I would say it plays even better with Robert Kiyosaki's
It does.
philosophy. But you're absolutely right.
Like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
I'll have
totally.
clients that hate this, banks, they pay cash for everything, and they've kind of been Dave Ramsey followers. And infinite banking, like they can just, it's a subtle change to switch to an infinite banking based platform, but it's
Yeah,
very
yeah,
similar in that way.
yeah,
On the flip side, too, like for me, infinite banking, the platform has saved me from just being addicted to constantly looking for investment opportunities to try to put my money to work in all the time and letting my
yes.
ears get tickled. Like I can just sit
Oh my
here
gosh.
and enjoy the benefits of having a policy that's growing at a
Yep.
solid rate, tax free.
Well,
In other words,
whenever,
I'm making enough
yeah,
money in my bank as it sits, but I don't feel the pressure to go out and take advantage of opportunities that I don't really believe in. Whereas most people, they're extremely passive with money. And so they
mm-hmm,
just dump
mm-hmm.
money into retirement programs, even if they don't want to be there. Like the idea is deep down, they don't want to just put money in the stock market. They
Or
don't
yeah,
even want the stock market.
or what happens too, tragically, is a lot of people that are passive about their money like that, and they don't have a filter. As they build wealth and as they get more experience in their career and their income goes up and all this stuff, what will happen is they don't have a filter, and so all they do is the really well-known conventional stuff, and then once or twice in their life somebody came along with some idea, right,
Yeah.
that they hadn't heard of before, and it sounded really good, but because they didn't have a filter or a platform or a set of principles by which to evaluate that thing, they just had to kind of go with their gut, and they went with their gut and they did it, and then they got burned.
Yeah.
And so now they're unwilling to go and try an outside the box thought like ever again, because like, no, the conventional stuff is what I've always done, it's what always worked, and they're so closed off to any outside the box thinking with money, any creative thinking with money, any opportunities that are out there. And so they just hit the avoid button for the rest of their life. And that's really sad because it is true that there are many, 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 many ideas and opportunities out there about money. And most of them probably are not right for most people. But every once in a while, if you have a filter, if you have a platform to live by, one will come along and you will see based on the principles of the platform that you used that it's right, and you will know
Yeah.
that it's right. And then you will not only will you get like an incredible opportunity to build wealth in something that's very specific and it's cool and it's creative, but you get these incredible relationships with like honest, trustworthy business people that are building a real enterprise, and you get to be a part of that. And so that is the number one benefit to me, maybe the number one benefit to me of infinite banking, is that infinite banking, the principles of infinite banking and the coaching that I got from you and Ray and Nelson and other people like Jason Lowe and others, is I have principles now that allow me to like very to be very, I want to say accurate, wise, principled decisions about the opportunities that come my way. And most of them, I'm like, it seems like maybe, I don't know what the ratio is, but most of them like, nah, not that one, not that one, not that one. But recently I had two come along. One was a land flipping opportunity, and then another is like a vending business opportunity. And I'm looking really, really closely at both of these. And I think that these two could actually be like incredible.
Yeah. Well, that's the idea is, that, and that goes even back to some of the things we talked about in the podcast many times, the idea of anti-fragility and the barbell investing strategy.
Mm-hmm.
That if you live your life on that barbell idea where you only take advantage of a few great opportunities, that's actually all you need in life.
Yeah.
You need a place to store capital that's going to grow it, that's going to be safe. And then you
Mm-hmm.
pull from that resource and that reservoir to go do things
Mm-hmm.
that have a very high potential for growth and a very low downside. Most of that is involved in deals that you create. It's very rarely an off-the-shelf deal available to the
Mm-hmm.
world.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
those are usually middle of the barbell deals, whereas the ones that you and your buddies can create or your connections can create or all of these types of things are the ones that often are the best ones to be involved in,
Yeah. And
and you
then
can win together.
yeah, you win together. That's the best. The best wealth opportunity building ones are the ones that you get to do with other people and win together. Then you have a
Yeah.
team. Then it's like winning a football game, like, oh yeah, we made the pass and we did the strategy.
Yeah,
We
we
were
did
we
it
were
together, and it
yeah,
feels
we
so
were
much better. I
behind
mean,
at
I'm sure
halftime, but
winning a
then we
golf tournament's great, by the way, doing it by yourself, kind of, but
yeah, yeah.
deep down, there's something about team sports that really
Yeah.
it takes the cake. And so the idea with infinite banking and the whole platform analogy is really that infinite banking is a great platform for people who like to be active with their money.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a very good platform for those that want to be passive. And what I mean by that, I guess I can caveat a little bit like, yeah, we all know that there's plenty of people doing IBC who just don't want to deal with the ups and downs of the stock market and these various other things. And so they're just happy to put money in policies and they're not going to be very active with it. And I'm saying that's fine. And that's great. I'm just merely saying that deep down, infinite banking invites you into a world where you have complete control of your money and you're
Mm-hmm.
almost encouraged to grow. You're encouraged to do things with money that maybe you wouldn't have done had you never entered in. It's the gateway drug. It's the way in to a
Yeah.
different financial life for many people.
Yes, it is.
And that is the true power behind it. It's
Yep.
not the policy per se.
Yep.
It's the life that you build when you change the platform or
Yep.
when you just install a platform in general. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how infinite banking came to me. Like I own part of a small real estate investment company. I tried stocks, I tried some other stuff, and I tried a lot of the conventional things, and I just had this deep nagging thought, like there's got to be more than this. There's got to be more. There's got to be other finan- financial worlds out there that are just more creative, appealing, fulfilling, rewarding for sure. And
Absolutely.
that's how it came to me. And I kept looking, like it says in the Bible, ask and you shall receive, like seek and you will find, knock and the door. Like if your desire is good, then like just keep at it and you'll find what you're looking for.
Yeah. And that's how most people stumbled upon it. A lot of people are like, I don't even know
Yeah.
how I got here. But here I am.
Yeah.
I love this place. I love
Yeah.
this
Yeah. Yeah.
idea. It's not for everybody. That was the whole point, though, is that I get tired of arguing or debating or whatever it is
Right.
why infinite banking is better than somebody else's platform. I'm not here to say that it is or isn't. I mean, like, I think the honest, and Michael, you and I have talked about, like, we need to present infinite banking for what it is,
Yes.
the platform that it is, and then let you decide whether you think that in living life through that platform is going to be better than the current thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not up for me. Like, I am not God. I don't get to decide what's
Right.
best for you.
Don't
I
get to
don't know.
decide for you. Right.
You like and that's the idea too, is like you have so many people who love the Dave Ramsey platform and who love the Robert Kiyosaki platform, and both of them could argue all day
Yeah.
about whose is better. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, though, I think doing either one, you'll probably end up finding success in totally different ways, and you guys will
Yeah.
hate each other, on either end of the spectrum. And so be it. But
It's
that's the
like,
idea with infinite banking, is we are just
yeah.
here to present the concept and the platform for what it is.
Yeah.
And then you get to decide whether it's something you think you can build your life on that meshes well with you. And some of the biggest thorns in my side are the clients that I probably, I don't know, shortchanged it to try to get them in, or
Mm.
kind of weaseled them in to become clients, not necessarily nefariously, but just trying to convince them using. In other words, I tried to sell IBC as a way that you didn't have to change anything. You didn't have to adopt any new
Yeah.
principles.
Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't have
Yeah.
to adopt any new paradigm shift. You could just do it, and you could just keep living life and thinking the same way that you're thinking and do this. And I think that was a mistake, because now they're in, but they
Hmm.
tried to blend the two platforms together, and it produced chaos. They don't understand. It actually
Yeah.
produced complexity as opposed to simplicity, because they're trying to blend their IBC life with their other life. And it's like, just choose one or the other. But it's easier and simpler to just follow the plan the way you're supposed to follow the plan. It'd be
Yeah.
like going into Dave Ramsey, just do the baby steps that he tells you to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
It's
don't
like trying to play
do it.
football on a baseball field. Like it that
Yeah.
yeah, don't
It's weird and confusing, and you could probably do it. It's just going to be
it
weird.
doesn't mean that football is bad. It just means that you're not on a football
Yeah.
field and you like
Yeah. Do you like baseball or football?
you're right.
Choose one and then go practice that one and go do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Don't do
Yeah.
this weird, like, oh, I bet you we could play football, but everybody can have bats. It's just like
Yeah.
weird.
Right.
And that's the thing, is people think that they're smarter.
I bet some people on the defensive line wish they had a bat
Yeah, I bet
sometimes.
so. Yeah, for sure. It might be, maybe I invented something that was great right then and there.
Right. You did.
Sounds like more of a gladiator match from ancient Rome or something than like actual, what would be allowed in today's sport. But I
Oh,
would just, the
that tickled
idea would
me.
be that as you get into infinite banking, you make a choice to filter decisions based on the reality that you chose to live in. We
I'm sorry.
often think we're smarter
Yeah.
than the creator of the concept. So like Dave Ramsey, Robert
Right.
Kiyosaki, Nelson Nash, these kind of creators of the platforms, we think we know more than they did. And so we say we're going to essentially create our own platform that's going to be a buffet style, using everyone's knowledge. And I'm like, great, good luck. It's just going to make your life complex. Like,
I'm
it's going
sorry.
to,
I'm still
you're
on
still
the.
imagining people playing football with bats.
I have an image of a bunch of football players with bats, like going after each other. That really tickled me. That was funny. Thank you for that.
My pleasure.
You should patent that fast because if you don't,
It's
it's
going to
going to go
be,
viral.
yeah, it's going to be the next like youth group game.
AI is going to grab it and just put it all over the internet. Oh, that was
That's true.
great. Very good.
Awesome, Michael. Anything else? I think we kind of beat the dead horse there.
I think we really flogged it for a good. We
Yeah.
flogged it well. That was
But
great.
my last, ending note on these last few episodes that I'm here, before I go into full-time ministry, is based on that. The reality is that, and this is the case whether it's your faith, whether it's your financial world, whether it's your relationships, things work better when you have a paradigm platform to build on, like
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
relationship with your spouse. You think you're smarter than everyone else, but you're not.
Yeah.
If you were to learn, there's plenty of marriage style systems where they're teaching you how to be a better spouse.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Mm-hmm.
just do what they say,
Yeah.
you will be a better spouse.
Yep.
And the same thing, and it's going to make life simpler. Actually, you just have a system to follow. The same thing will go
Yep.
financially. The same thing will go raising kids, in your faith. Like at the end of the day, people need to understand the, a way to filter their decisions. Otherwise, it's overwhelming. And
It is
so,
overwhelming. Yeah.
yeah,
And
infinite banking is a great filter
it is,
platform.
it's awesome. It gives you a whole framework to think about everything financially.
Yes,
And it works.
it
I
does.
think the thing I would end with for me is like, well, Michael, do you think that infinite banking is better than all those others? Well, of course I do. Otherwise, I would be doing one of those others,
Yeah,
Like, but that's not me saying that I know that like everybody in the world, like I'm so convinced that it is the best one for me, and I've had such a positive experience with it. I do want to go out and like, you should do it too. Everybody should do it. And like, I'm really passionate about it, and so that's like my answer to that. I'm not saying that, obviously people have built tremendous wealth without infinite banking. Like, hello.
100%. I
Um
think that was my end point for this whole thing, just right there, Michael. That was it. I understand that other things work as well,
yeah,
but we
absolutely.
also know infinite banking works.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, it it's subjective. And I've talked about this on the podcast many times. People are always looking for objective truth. And I've said this
Mm-hmm.
many times. There is nothing objective in the financial world.
Mm-hmm.
Zero. There is never such a thing as an objective truth in the financial world. That's because financially, whether or not something will end up being successful
Mm-hmm.
is always in the future, which is unknown. You
Yeah.
cannot know
Yeah.
what is going to happen. So
Mm-hmm.
because you are dealing in only unknowns, you do not have an objective truth. And on top of it's the objective truth of what's the best place to put my money. That cannot be, you can't grab that because everything you do with money is going to be future based. On top of which, you only know what you know. And you are far dumber than you think when it comes to financial decisions.
Well,
That's
when it
just the
comes to
truth.
everything.
You are, I shouldn't say dumb. I should say ignorant, I guess. The amount that you don't know in the
Oh,
world
it's
of finance
massive.
is
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
So you're trying to say, what is the best? Is infinite banking the best thing for me to do? The answer is probably not. Like there is probably the next Tesla somewhere that you should go all in on, and that would be the best thing. But how what I'm saying is the objective truth can never be found.
Hmm.
Nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. So the idea is,
Mhm.
yeah, don't do IBC. Just invest in the next Elon Musk's venture from the initial seed money. That would be the best thing for you to do with your money.
Yeah.
Whatever that. But what I'm saying is, of course, I'm saying it facetiously because of course that's impossible. So it's
Right.
impossible for you to know
It's
what's
impossible
going
to
to
know
happen.
which penny stock is going to be the next, Amazon or Nvidia or
Yeah.
whatever.
So what's best is always backwards looking. So
Yeah.
all we know is what would have been best for us to put our money backwards. We
Mm-hmm.
never know what
Mm-hmm.
would be best. So that's why platforms work so well. That's the truth.
Yeah.
They just help you live your life in a successful way
Yeah. They're
through the
not built on
unknown
predicting the future. They're built on principles that can't
principles.
change. Certain,
Exactly.
like don't lie. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Like tell the truth no matter what, even if it costs you a lot now. Like that's something that just you can't, that is one that you can't, like if you ignore that one, it's sooner or later that will not go well for you. And I
Yeah.
believe that the principles of infinite banking are very similar to that. The principles of banking being unavoidable, you always pay interest, always pay yourself first, pay yourself back, all that stuff. So
Yeah. I agree. Awesome. Well, thanks, Michael. And we will see you guys all on the next episode. If you guys want to learn more about infinite banking, you can go to livingwealth.com and sign up for our free course that'll dive into infinite banking. You can also sign up for a
Yep.
consultation and meet with Michael or somebody else on the team whenever you go to livingwealth.com. So we hope to see you there. Have a good day.